Hello, good day everyone. I don't hear the energy, come on. Good day everyone. All right, this is gonna be fun. We're talking about foods right before lunch, okay? Who's hungry? This is good, okay. All right, so my name is Rizal Hamdallah. I'm leading the innovation lab from Tyson Foods. So today, I'm standing here. I'm gonna talk about how Tyson Foods is able to launch 2 products within 6 months by finalizing business models, product, and brand only within 5 days. We call it the sprint. Let's take you through a little bit about the stats of Tyson Foods. Tyson Foods size is around 40 to 45 billion revenue. We are the largest and the biggest food manufacturing in this country. With the word large and big, it comes with a burden. Do you guys know? Slow. Right? That's just normal. Big, large is slow. So the total employees is around more than 120,000. And then the group that I'm leading is the innovation lab. The mandate that the company gave it to me is about to accelerate innovation, driving the growth for the company and the future of foods fast. That will create impacts for society. Today's size is around 9 people and continuously growing. I have 2-sided experience. I'm a corporate background with different CPG companies from Unilever, Nestle, SC Johnson, and now in Tyson Foods. I'm also a founder of a startup company. It helps me to get these 2 perspectives. One is so fast, and the other one is a little bit slow. That helps me to really thinking when I built this group. So let's start with accomplishment. The first one is Yapa Brands. I'm very delighted about Yapa Brands because this is all about creating a disruptive product within snacking categories that created using food waste ingredients. Or we reframe the word food waste, we call it rescue ingredients. We partner with companies like Molson Coors, like Naturex that provides their potential ingredients that go to waste, that we create this delicious snack within 6 months time period. We're not launching line extension. We're not launching new flavor. It's totally different to the market. And we were able to cut 80% of timeline, which is around 36 months to launch. And I'm also very happy to announce, last week we just recognized by Time Magazine as one of the top 10 most sustainable brands 2018, along with Allbirds, Honeywell, and some other brands as well. So very exciting time for Tyson Foods through this innovation. And the team take the other challenge. We call it spike in the world of agile. If we can deliver it, it's great. But if we can't deliver it, Rizal, don't take this as our commitment. So the second product, launched only for 3 months as a spike, we call it Flash Food Box. It's a partnership with a startup company called Flash Food, based in Canada, and start doing some business in the US, a direct-to-consumer offering for high-quality surplus product at large discounts. So we partner with them. They're running the whole platform, technology platform. We're sourcing the protein, and we also have produce company that's sourcing the second grade of vegetables and fruits, whether it's not looking good shape or perceived bad by retailer. So we optimize this and we create this platform, and we run testing in Detroit last April. So within 6 months, we were able to launch 2 new products to market. What is the success, the recipe for success for us? The first one is limit the decision maker. Everybody loves to make decisions, right? It's just normal. Oh, the head of strategy, the group president, this person, everybody wants to make decisions. I only limit, when I was asked to list this group, only 2 people can make decisions. I got the privilege to choose at that time. I was joining ventures first, and before I took this role. So I threw them these 3 requests. If they said no, I will stay in ventures. If they said yes, I will take the job. So they said yes for the first one, which is only 2 people making decision. And one of them is one of the highest level in the company. The second one, I want the lab in a business. I don't want the lab in a corporate strategy group or in the central or the hub, or even in R&D. One, I'm not going to be a salesman. When you are in a corporate strategy group, I have to sell these products to the business. My job will be 50% is selling this product or innovation. So I requested to be placed under one of the most growing business, which is prepared foods. And if it is in R&D, it's going to be cost center. Meanwhile, we are profit center. Okay? And then the third one, start with internal hires. This is huge. I'm the new hire. I joined Tyson Foods middle of last year. It's enough to have 1 new hire. I don't need to just pull people that I know, I worked with them before, to work with me. I don't create values to the organization. I don't create impact to create talent pipeline. And that's bad. The only downside will be investment of coaching. So this group was asked to design in October. So my request to the 2 decision makers was, I'm not going to start to kick off the first project until January. My philosophy is simple. If you want to send your team to a war, you should make sure your team knows the strategy to win the battle, knows how to fight, knows how to use the tools. So my role in that 3 months is equip them with the whole preparation, with the tool. So by the time we reach January 2018, we kick off at 5 days design sprint, and we identify the product, the brand, and the business models in January 16th, within that 5 days design sprint. So that's the 3 requests that I had, and they supportive. So this is one of the most important success that we have as a company. Another thing is, be very upfront about 6 months. I put my team in a very big exposure. We communicate publicly, because we are a public company, that we are tasked to deliver this in 6 months. If I'm successful, great. If I'm not successful, hey, that's okay. For me, it's a permission to do something different. To that, though, it's so critical, which is the next one, is about failure. As long as we allow to fail, as long as we can learn from failures and take this moving forward to be better, that's totally fine. And the company is really committed about this. The next one is co-create with consumer. And I think it's very critical talking about co-create because in the normal approach or traditional approach, you guys do a lot of consumer research. We use research for validation, and you name it. Our research is test market. That's why it's small scale. That's the research. Because I'm not going to spend 3 months for those who work in CPG. You guys probably aware about basis study, consumer placement study. It takes 3 months. And this all information is claim. Oh, I claim it's going to buy this, claim I'm going to try this, I claim. It's all claim. But through this exercise of test market, you get someone that actually put money behind it and buying the product. That's different. Co-creation is critical. Engage consumer through your prototyping exercise. And I'm very excited about this because it's so different. Sometimes we don't start from the consumer or from the user. We start a lot from the idea and the white space opportunity. Last is about less PowerPoint and decks. I probably only have less than 5 PowerPoints so far. And I'm glad that CB Insight helped as well to make the PowerPoints just because it's reducing the workload. That's required. My team don't have the capability. We are tasked to work every day, stand-up meeting every day, and we do have a big countdown clock. If one of you someday come to the lab of Tyson Foods, you will see this countdown clock in our lab. So every morning you see how many days you have left, how many hours you have left. For the second project, as of this morning, we have 81 days to go for the next launch. So that's the secrets of success. With that, we also realized there are things that we learn throughout the journey, some challenges that we face. The first one is about retail. So as a CPG, we want to test this in retail, just normal. We decided we go with two different approaches, crowdsourcing, Indiegogo, and also retail partner. Unfortunately, weeks before we shipped the products, the retail company closed down. So the company called Treasure Island, for those who live in Chicago, you guys probably know Treasure Island. It's very close to heart for Chicagoans. It's been in the market for more than 60 years. Unfortunately, they closed down right before we shipped the products. So we have to pivot, okay? And we have to make agreement with leadership. Is it really important to have retail testing, or we can leverage the crowdsourcing as our testing? And then lastly is about late product shipment. So one of the biggest learning for us is about engaging government. When you talk about food, I'm sure all of your industry also have the same thing, engaging them early on. Yapa is a good example because it's made from food waste. It's new for the government. What are you guys doing, right? There's nothing else in the market yet and contains meat, which is USDA will have roles in this conversation. So it's been a journey with them, which also we already have everything ready to ship. Then changes happen. We have to deal with all these changes. So that's why we experienced some delays with our partner in Indiegogo and also Kickstarter. The good thing, this consumer is early adopters. They are totally cool with the delays because other companies have delay for almost 9 months, for example. So we try to make sure that we accomplish that by this month. And then from there, what is the future state that we have? Regulatory approval. Okay, we went to DC for our second project way early on. They're so excited about what we're doing. It takes a lot from both sides, understanding why we're doing what we're doing, and also thinking about building the future of food, which we engage them as part of our key partners to deliver this. And then, of course, when you can deliver 2 projects within 6 months, what will happen next? They will ask for more, right? It's just normal corporation. So my team is growing. We are going to tackle more than 1 or 2 big spaces in the food industry. So this is going to be the most exciting time for us in building this scope. We designed the group very differently. We operate like startup company with the back of big corporation, if you will, and that's how we approach it. So just stay tuned and wait more news coming from Tyson Innovation Lab. I think that's it from me. Thank you.
I think we're supposed to sit.
All right.
All right, there's a lot of fun stuff here. I guess the first thing I'm curious about is one of the things you said was, when you took this job, you kind of, said, here's how I want to work. I'm going to report to 2 people, this small team. But then you also said, I'm going to work within a business. So you guys are certainly sound like a company within a company, as you just kind of said, with the backing of a big company. But you're not completely, away from what, the bigger departments are getting asked. Talk to me about why you made that decision.
Yeah, so I think it's about the way I'm always approaching it. It's like, learn how to dance. This is my request to my team. Learn how to dance as a startup company employee, but in the same time, also understand the corporation needs and motivation. So there is nothing black and white to that question. The mentality is startup company. We approach it with a very simple way. But in the same time, we realize this is still under Tyson, a big company. So the best way for us to approach it is, instead of being too separate, normally people are just going to be separate. I've seen failures with separation as well, because it's become exclusive. Once you create exclusivity, I don't create culture of innovation. What I create is just a spatial group somewhere out there, maybe in Silicon Valley or somewhere else, and you don't create that relativeness with the employee. And my bigger responsibility, I think, is to change and transform the innovation culture in the company. So that's why I'd rather to be in the business. It's harder. It's like you have to master this dance. As long as they're committed to what they're doing or what we're doing, I think that would be awesome.
Well, that's one thing I wanted to ask. And certainly, you know, you guys are making products, you are shipping products, you are selling products. But is the point less to come up with the next great product or to show people in the company how you came up with the product, the things that the questions you asked, the arenas you explored that the rest of the company is not, and then the rest of the company is supposed to see like, okay, we need to tweak how we're doing the rest of our jobs?
Yeah, so I love these questions because it's not just cut the timeline and use the same process. It's about using new tools to approach the problem. So the output will be the impact from the approach. To your questions is, now we create 2 or 3 people in the group that focusing on creating impacts to the larger organization of using our tools and our approach. Because I want the base business also experience the way we're doing it. In the same times, we still need to deliver. So what we need to deliver, of course, the innovation. So it comes both.
Sure. Talk to me about coming into a food service industry from where you were before. Was it challenging to kind of like have to adapt some of your previous experience to that? And then how do you do that while also trying to move rapidly?
Yeah, I think I had these questions before, and the best teacher is the failure, right? That's always been the best one. So I admit I failed before when I was in the other previous organization, when they tried to really taking this startup mentality and with a lot of money invested, creating a lab, creating beautiful offices, millions of dollars, and you name it. But what's we're missing is about the 2 principles, design thinking as the core and agility as the how. So these 2 are so powerful instead of just creating something so surface. Like, oh, it looks great, a lot of UX designers, great office, you name it. But you're missing the content, you're missing the meat of it. So learning from that experience, I do everything in the opposite. You won't see anyone in my team have any shirt or anything with the innovation lab, none. Because I don't want to create exclusivity. Second, if someone come to me, a big agency, hey Rizal, I want to be your PR agency or advertising agency or whatever agency, you can just simply ask additional money to your group president. I will say no. They were surprised. They can give you more money. Of course they can. But I'm not teaching my team. With constraint of only $20,000 marketing fund that we can do differently. That's how startup company operates, right? So that itself is so different, and I learned from my experience in the past.
Well, I was surprised to hear you say that, all right, so we talked to somebody who acquired a company, the ADP. So they went and grabbed a company, they got the startup DNA that way. Talk to somebody who's doing partnerships. They're talking to entrepreneurs all over the place. You assume some of that DNA filters up. You said you picked all Tyson employees, when I would have definitely assumed, you kind of get this job and you say, let me go grab people who've worked at this food startup, has done a couple food startups, works at a smaller food company. Yeah, walk me through the mindset on bringing in Tyson people, and then you talked about training your team. Like, have they needed a lot of training to like get the startup DNA?
So I will quote what my team keeps saying. It's like a different world. In the same office, but it's a different world. So I think when you acquired, I used to be in acquisition team as well in my previous job in corporate strategy. The biggest question is about integration. So when you acquire a company, what's next? Integration. So what happened with integration? The joke, are you going to be Johnsonized, Tysonized, Unilever, you name it, right? So then the founders start having this like nervous timing or whatsoever. That's hard. It's 2 different cultures, and you try to fit into one. Why don't you embrace the different culture anyway? So that's why I'm approaching it differently. We have M&A group. We have Tyson Ventures group. They do what they need to do. My role is about building capabilities, building brands, and building new culture that really transform the innovation itself. So that, I think, will create more impact. And what's really cool about this, Jason, because people wanted to go to the lab. I never have any application that reached 50 people within 2 days. For me, that's a good sign that people talk about it. People wants to get the permission to do things differently. People wants to get permission to challenge status quo. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you talked about dealing with government regulation, which I thought was really interesting. That's always an issue for startups, especially startups that are strapped for cash. You know, Tyson, I can only imagine, pays a lot of lawyers a lot of money to do very good work on their behalf with government regulation. Were you guys having to go the startup route with the government? And has that also helped inform some of Tyson's decision making? And hey, we actually can, you know, work with regulators in a different way.
I think what's important is we leverage Tyson relationship that they already have been built so far. What's new though, what we come up, it's also so different. They also like, yes, I understand about the relationship, but I also understand I have to serve my objective, making sure it's safe to eat, making sure it's follow all the guidelines, you name it, right? So it's the tension that they are dealing with, and our role, and we don't pay anyone, we have our own regulatory team that actually navigate that conversation. We can provide data as much as we can, technical data, but in the same time, we also want to understand what is the approach from the government dealing what's coming next. Because as the largest food manufacturing company, we have the responsibility to lead the changes. So, yeah.
Sure. And then the last thing I wanted to do before we get to the overrated, underrated was, you know, you talked about you guys are very transparent internally. You know, from my experience, startups aren't usually that transparent. They don't really have to be. Private companies, you know, can operate in stealth. You can hide whatever you want, really. Why be transparent, and like how has that gone as far as communicating to the rest of the company what you guys are doing?
Yeah, I think transparency is critical today just because it's the important piece to build relationship with consumers as well as creating credibility inside. When you're honest, when you genuinely, authentically knows what you're doing and you communicate that in a very candid way, people will appreciate that. So that's why we are very transparent. Not only that, even if you can see like the message we have with Kickstarter community, with Indiegogo, we're very transparent. This is not like the big corporation approach. And we're like, hey, I'm so sorry. This is what we're trying to do. Hey, this is what happened. I think it creates more advantages to us, and it's a change of culture. I have to be the one to give that example. For example, taking away from consumer facing on this transparency about feedback. When you have your team in a development mode, normally you wait until midterm or annual review. I don't do that. I do it by the location, by the same time. They always make a joke. If Rizal call you to the box, there will be something happening. But again, this is part of being open and transparent and nothing personal because we try to change the culture. So that's why transparency is critical. The company is so embracing this, which I think is really cool about it.
Great. All right, we only got a few minutes before everybody gets lunch, so let me race through these. Overrated, underrated, they're relatively food focused. Plant-based protein.
Underrated.
Okay.
And the reason why is because there's so many things beyond that we know today. I've seen a lot of science come lately, and I think that will change a lot in the industry. In the same time, it's not about the or, it's about the and. What does that mean? Meaning consumer will have choices, whether they are going to take the meat or animal-based protein or something different. So the world is going to be, looks like more blur, allowing people to do whatever best for them.
All right. Fast casual dining.
Underrated. Because I believe there's a lot of disruption is happening in that sector because the word fast meaning not healthy. The word fast meaning less hygiene or whatsoever, right? So there's a lot of potential, and I've seen a lot of startup companies start doing something in that space and possibly disrupting that space. So I won't be surprised if the current fast model will be changing in the next 5 years.
Lab-grown meat.
I would say underrated again. I think the conversation that is very critical now with the government will change in the next 3 years. It's harder. Today, it's hard because what are you guys doing? This is like very different. Consumer probably have more challenging questions in their head. But along the journey, 5 years from now, this is becoming basic potentially. And government will see a lot of potential because of the pressure of the less animal availability by 2050 that will help them to rethink how they approach it. So that's why I will answer underrated.
Last one, food trucks.
I still say underrated because I believe food truck is a truck, but I'm gonna challenge the word truck with reframe the concept of food truck, which is it's about ready by the time you need it, which is right in consumption needs, right? So I'm sure, I believe in one point of our life, we will see a very different model of food truck that will disrupt the whole industry, so.
All right, that's good stuff.
All right.
Well, thank you, Rizal. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Excellent.